Hello guys, welcome, be seated in court, my friends. It is Clockwork down to Noodles, judge for today. Let's be the judge. I am here to guide you through the episode that is episode 7 of Moriarty the Patriot, season 2. Before we get going, my friends, make sure you are subscribed. There is new content coming your way, pretty much nearly daily. We're nearly daily at times. But I have got some new stuff going your way at some point, and I have begun to look at the next season that is coming our way. It's a little on a quiet side, I won't lie, but this channel isn't doing so well, so a quiet season is probably good for me to just recuperate, try and see what I can do moving forward. I had hoped we'd have hit my goal quite a while ago now, so we're long overdue and the views on the channel are going down, so I need to reconsider what I'm doing. There is a Discord for you to get a notification whenever videos go up. It allows you to stay in the loop and allows you to be like Moriarty, have your ears on the ground and be alerted to any delays going on. This video is about 5 hours delayed just because I am working slightly more and I am pushing myself for you guys to get 2 videos out in essentially one night. So by the time this airs, it's going to be way past midnight over here in the UK. But I've got a lot to say and I think you guys might like it because I picked out some really nice facts as well to give you to back up today's evidence, back up my evidence, guys, and support my claim in court, of course. So let's drop back to it. Milverton is here. So we are back from our Lestrade break. I did say it felt like important filler. It was a break episode. We could have essentially cut that out, maybe just referred to it and just tacked it right back on this episode, back onto the other episode. So we're picking up right at the end of the Ripper case where Milverton spies William James Moriarty and he knows who he is. So this is The Merchant of London Part 1. And we get to go back in time. We get to jump back, go and see our young'uns, our young Moriartys at their orphanage home. So this takes place pre-Albert, where William decides he wants to do my job. Fair enough. I'll allow him to explain how Victorian money system works, but I will be giving you some fun facts a bit later on using the Victorian money system and a converter, just so you know what we're actually dealing with when it comes to money in this episode. This little section allows us also to see William as a character, him teaching those around him maths, seeing that his love for maths comes at a really young age. So he's one of those kids who always knew he wanted to be a mathematician and a load of crime, of course, on side. I mean, everyone's got to have a hobby. It's a very nice scene, and the fact that we use bread as a basis to show, how many loaves you get. Bread is generally used because it mainly doesn't fluctuate in price very much. Generally, a man buying bread kind of helps you work out the average of a living wage, the idea of how much you can afford. Generally, bread tends to be a staple that most people do use within mathematician problems and working out currencies. Just a nice little fact, just in case you wondered why it was bread and not apples or anything. Lord Baxter, his introduction and his colour. The inclusion of green on him is absolutely perfect. Green is the colour of envy, it is the colour of greed, and it is money. Mainly US money. I mean, there's never been any green money in the UK, but the colour of money, well, apparently a dollar bill is green. I don't remember from my time in LA, but I do have a nice little jar of cents. I have a little jar of my change that I picked up from my trip to LA. It's my special jar. I really prided myself in trying to get one from each state. Seeing the character also cutting into his steak not only displays an important role later on during the court case, but seeing it's the simply bleeding as well. It's also just a visual to show you what kind of character you're dealing with. They didn't have to show you it being that rare. It could just simply be rare. But just the inclusion of this as well, adding to the character so you just know that this is the character you don't really want to like very much. I mean, you can't at this point because he basically swindles an entire orphanage out of cash. That's the kind of man he is. Seeing inside Baxter's large estate or home, as much as it makes you feel sick compared to what the Moriartys are dealing with at this point in the orphanage, it is a beautiful moment just to study the artwork, study how the details line up to a Victorian home of this kind of standings. We have these grand open rooms, we have the gilding, we have the beautiful plasterworks around the mirrors. It is very expensive, but again, very, very beautiful. And it is at home in these kind of environments. If you ever go to any of the UK stately homes, which are looked after mainly by the National Trust, you can see all of this. This looks like it has been lifted from one of these estates. Beautiful alcoved ceilings, fantastic detail just showing the wealth that this man really does have, even though he's slyly removing his claim to it. We have beautiful big vases, we have amazing mirrors. Any of these kind of things really could just sell one vase and remake £300, which I think is also picked up when Lewis is also studying the ceramics. These ceramics are beautiful, and the detail as well, just the detailing on those plates. Gotta hand it to the artists, they know what they're doing. The candlesticks as well. The blue and white porcelain. It is a beautiful mimic of a fine porcelain that Britain probably would import during the trade at this period of time. This is Victorian Britain. This is a time when trade with the East is opening up. These are also pieces you'd probably find more or less in a museum nowadays. They are utterly priceless pieces of work. I like how Will starts really honestly. He does kind of lay it out flat. He gives it nice and honestly, like, we have no food. We need that money back. Kind of, he tries to play it as it is. Give him straight, this is how things are. He doesn't start all octane. He doesn't start right in the middle. He doesn't make any demands or anything. He starts flat. He starts, this is it. This is the fact. We have no money. We need that cash. And he also kind of just implying we don't have the time to wait for a maybe next month when we all kind of know that you're never going to pay that money back. Will surprising me with having £300. That is insane. And let's start to break down some of those figures. I wanted to give you some figures. It is possible to work out roughly how much a Victorian pound to a UK pound is. It will depend on the calculator converter you use. The one I have used to help me with my maths will put us in 2017. So you can inflate this price a little bit more as opposed to 2021. So the one I normally use, I will probably link in the comments below, just in case you yourself want to have a muck around and to see how much you can buy. The calculator site I normally use as well will show you how much that money would buy you. So could you afford to hire someone? Could you afford a house? And you can pick whatever year. I have taken the year 1880. I may be a little bit shy, but again, it won't inflate too much more. So I've put it probably a little bit late for the period we're dealing with. I think it's a little bit earlier with these guys, but I picked straight in the middle. I thought it'd be fun. For 300, how much would 300 Victorian pounds be in today's money? Give or take a little bit, obviously, because this is taking it 5 years ago. Well, hold on to your seats, my friend. It is about 25,000. Yes, £25,000. Will has just slapped £25,000 worth on the table. I'm impressed he has it. Obviously, he's been collecting from doing favours with all these men. He's probably managed to take cuts in places as well. He's going to be the willing party to lend to Baxter, also help pay off the debt. So this also ensures that the orphanage isn't going to go under. That is the key thing there as well, that the orphanage debt being wiped off straight away. Him setting up a £600 loan to Baxter as well. It is very shameless as well, just him willing to take money from a child, just showing you the kind of man you're really dealing with. Of course, the premise, the idea of making an orphanage still stands. We're taking this loan on the same grounds as he did with the orphanage itself. But it's very interesting because we know that this is going to be good. We know Will is getting him into a very good position. As soon as we see them signing a contract, it did make me wonder if this contract had anything interesting in that contract. And of course, it does. But it is a return to the old season 1 style formula. We have our baddie. He's got a green filter all over him, He's got an amazing evil laugh because, of course, you need to know who the villain is, my friends. He has an amazing ugly evil face. So you might have noticed that quite a few of our villains, especially in season 1, they've all had that really ugly evil face. Not just a kind of a I'm evil, confident evil face. They're all just really exaggerated evil faces, if that makes any sense. Also, a casual reminder to all of my viewers, always make sure you read the small print. Really, just read the small print, guys, because sometimes people do sneak things in there. Unsavoury characters who might want to cut you up into little bits. I love the fact that we have Shakespeare also incorporated into our title, into this episode. I did wonder if it had anything to do with the Merchant of Venice. It is a very interesting tale for you guys to read. Supposedly a comedy as well. But I do think it is as well as adding all things British into the Moriarty the Patriot series, but I cannot complain. It is indeed a link to the Shylock and the Merchant Antonio's contract. We're using the same contract, but obviously we're trying to rewrite the ending. So we want a bit more of a PG-18 ending, or R-rated ending this time round. We're not going to have it just kind of ruled out of court. We're going to go balls to the wall and we're going to get that R rating. So, objection, Your Honour. Peace and quiet in the court, my friends. Let's dive into the case, let's see what's going on, and let's see how cleverly Baxter is trying to play the court. Because there's a lot going on, and I do enjoy this. First things first, Let's put into perspective, how much is £600? Well, most of you guys can double it. We are looking at about £50,000 worth of money. That's a lot. So when he does say, I'll give you half the estate, I'm like, I don't think that's going to cover it, my friend. Very, very expensive stuff. It does indeed cost money to open a court case. So again, Will's having to fork out here, but I think with him getting quite a bit of money back in return, I think he can now afford it. The proceedings are very, very nice. I do like the attention of detail. We have the opening statement from Will, him obviously defending himself. He can't afford to have somebody there for him. We have our defence, where Will decides that he wants to start questioning, because that is his right. So he hasn't got anyone there for him. He has that right. So he's doing both roles. Baxter very, very cleverly dodging and conveniently backing up that he has no assets. And it's just very, very clever the way he's done it, the way that everything has an answer. Everything's been thought through. He's cleverly worked out that if he ever got into this situation by anyone, he can go, wait, I don't have the money. I don't have this. Because technically, he doesn't. He has basically transferred the ownership of this estate. It's technically not his, but it also technically is his. A lot of this next scenario goes on the idea of wording. It goes on being pedantic, looking into pedantry and the actual meaning of words. It did remind me quite nicely of my time back studying philosophy when I was in uni. I took it as a minor because I was very interested in it. And we did go through a few things where we looked at the philosophy behind media, behind the way that you can word a title. The media comes up a lot just because there's a lot of different ways you can get somebody to agree, disagree, and you can spin a way that something is presented. And that was me studying at like 9 a.m, having like heavy metaphysics thrown at me. Fantastic stuff. Really enjoyed it. The defense playing the word game pretty quickly, where he starts to say, well, you can have a pound of flesh if you can't spill any blood. The court even does essentially say that they cannot say no. Even the defense going, actually, wait, I do admit you technically do have a right to that pound of flesh. However, him inserting the next notion that, just flesh, not blood. This is very, very clever. Again, this would settle normally. But of course, this is Will we're talking about. He's not going to let just a bit of wording slow him down. That when he called for the witness, it took a little while for me to click it, but then I got it. I did get why he had called the waiter in. We simply need to find an inconsistency. We need to find a loophole. The waiter being called is absolutely genius because he unknowingly is going to give us information that Baxter orders the steak. He also goes quite frequently. And steak isn't exactly cheap either. Initially, I was like, oh, maybe he's making the point that, oh, you do have money. You're paying for steak. Where's this money coming from? Are you borrowing it from someone? But no, we're taking on a very dark twist, of course. It is a very clever way to essentially state that him ordering steak, which is technically a pound of flesh or half a pound of whatever he's ordering, he even says, half a pound of beef or something like that. He doesn't at any point state, minus the blood. So it basically shows us that his concept of a pound of flesh would include the blood. He's not taking it out. So that then goes right back to where the defense kind of got, said no blood and says, actually, according to you, that can be the case. He is using his own argument against him, which is so clever. It is fantastic using somebody else's words against him because, I found a loophole. This is what you said. This is what we're going to do. The red filter returns, signaling our danger. Baxter starting to panic as he realizes the situation is getting very dire, backing him into a corner, literally sweating it out. William reciting Sherlock's words, which is absolutely shocking to Baxter, who would never believe that a simple urchin would know Shakespeare, because Shakespeare is difficult. It is Old English, even to us normal English people. We struggle to read it at times. There is a very interesting video floating around that how far back could an English speaker from today go, back in time in English history, until they couldn't even understand their own words. And I think it was roughly about 300 years. You would struggle, but it was about that point where the English language really took on a different approach. You wouldn't be able to read it. I think you can read some of the Tudor stuff, but around this time, Shakespeare as well, introducing many words of his own, that he invented a hell of a lot of words. Knowing that fact and knowing that William has read this, he can recite up to 40 works of Shakespeare. That is showing you the level of genius this boy really is. He knows how to read. He can read this Old English, and he's also reading it with all these made up words that Shakespeare made at the time. And of course, we're talking about Victorian period. He's not reading the English language, English class you took in A-level, the watered down version of Shakespeare, one you can read in modern day English. He's reading the full-on old English stuff. And you know he's reading the proper stuff. He scares the absolute truth out of Baxter. Note that it also is a punishable offence to lie in court, as stated initially by the judge right at the start. So he is also, him going, it's a lie, he is also opening himself up for a offence anyway. So he's really digging a hole over here. But it is a lesson, guys. Do not mess with William. Don't do it. It's just not worth it. It really isn't worth it. Nothing worse than a child wielding a knife. Milverton. You've been absent for this. Let's get it back. We needed that case because Milverton knows about this case. Milverton obviously took an interest in this case. He is indeed the king of media. Milverton knows about the switch. It's there and there in the obvious. This is our loose link. I always said that there's going to be a link somewhere where Moriarty slips up. However, it does seem that this might be a little bit fabricated and planned. I will mention that in a moment. But this is it. Milverton knows that the real William Moriarty died in that fire, and there was a switch done. And because the brothers are pretty okay with it, he is 100% aware that these guys are all in on it, in a sense. They are aware that this isn't the real William. We are not dealing with an amateur, my friends. Milverton is not an amateur, and we cannot underestimate him. He recognises Will as his true enemy. This, again, a slight alteration from where the reference material comes from. In the source material, Milverton is the one who starts to try blackmailing Sherlock. And Sherlock and Milverton, it's a very interesting back and forth. And it also gets us to see Sherlock almost at his most desperate in the books. And he starts to take matters into his own hands when he breaks in. He takes underhanded methods to try and top Milverton because he can't get ahead of him without having to take a few bad moves, in a sense. But this is going to be a lot more electrifying. I believe we're now dealing with two men who aren't afraid to get their hands dirty. They're going to go ham. And this is going to be amazing. And William, at the end, giving them permission to eliminate Milverton. This is it, guys. This is going to be fun. And this is going to be genius. And it's going to take someone very smart to slip up here. How are we going to slip up? Who is going to lose? Well, obviously, Milverton is. But how? Will also left that court record, the record of him being in court. Obviously, you get a record at the end of it. He left it out on purpose, which means he's definitely tempting someone in. And this was definitely part of the plan. So he was completely aware of leaving it behind. So guys, my friends, what an amazing episode we had. I really felt like I just walked into Ace Attorney and I was going to be screaming, "Objection!" If they had done that, oh my god, if William had actually just screamed objection, Ace Attorney, amazing game, absolutely love it. It would have been the icing of the cake if they'd just done that, but I can't imagine they probably have the rights to that game. But absolutely loved it, fantastic episode. I am just like, bring on Milverton. I am ready for Milverton to hit our screens. I want to see hell. I want to see absolute hell break out between these two. And I want to see how smart we can get. And I want to I don't know, guys. I am so hyped to see Milverton on screen. I often enough do like a good written villain. Most of the time, people note that I do happen to crush and simp bad boys, as people put it. And if you have watched my Devil May Cry series, which I'm hopefully going to be bringing to you guys officially next week, and do little breaks as we go through the new game, I like Virgil. I like the bad boy. I'm sorry. And again, I like Lewis, guys. You know me. I like a stabby. I will see you guys again soon. I hope you are having fun. Take care, guys, and stay safe. Bye-bye.